trigger warning, because I will talk about PTSD, I will talk about sexual abuse, and you guys to know that you guys are not alone if you guys go through the experiences that I went through. But essentially, because I am a mother, and I feel like I don't want what happened to me to affect how it is that I am like parenting. I mean, it will, and you know, the the therapist that I've been working with, she was like, you know, it's fine. It's you know, it's gonna affect me, and that's okay, and it's just gonna make me be more aware. So essentially, if I wait until, because I keep wanting to like put it off and like post about this and how it happened and how it had affected me, but I was like, if I wait, I'm never gonna post it, because I wanted to talk about I feel like I can't even spit it out. I don't even know why it's hard. When I was a child, I was molested as a child, and I was around, I don't know, between 6 and 8 years old. 8 years old is when it stopped. It's when someone close to the family found out, and they put a stop to that person. And I don't remember how or anything, how it was handled, but I just know that it stopped, and that's when I learned that what was happening wasn't okay, because I didn't know. So for so many years, I feel I had a really big breakdown 2 days ago, and I feel like I'm like already picking at my nails. I feel like it has been really for me, it was awakening many years. I I was suffering, and I just kept blaming myself. I kept blaming, like, and what ifs and everything. And when I finally opened up to, because I had to get a surgery, and I opened up to my husband, like, while we were together. Probably, like, we had been together for 3 years, and that's when I first, like, opened up to him on why that surgery was important to me and things like that. And I remember he didn't understand at first, like, why I was doing. So finally I told him, and I opened up and told him what happened to me and how I was abused, and I didn't expect his reaction. Like, for me, I didn't know what to expect, right? I was terrified to tell him, because I was like, he's gonna see me as this person that's like dirty, this person that I feel a lot lighter now, because I have forgiven myself finally. So through therapy, she's teaching me different things, because it has affected me quite a lot on how I grow and how I am with my children. And I have a hugger. I have one of my childs. It's a hugger, and this is the part that hurts me the most. That I don't want to be hugged sometimes, like, or if I am being hugged, it's on my terms. Like, I can hug you for like 10 seconds or whatever it is, like, it's on my terms. And so when my daughter hugs me for a little too long, or she just wants to continue hugging me, I sometimes have pushed her away without wanting to. Like, it's just an automatic reaction, because I feel like I'm being smothered. I feel like I'm being held in a way that I don't want to be. And so one of the things that we've been working on, and she was like, you know, because for me, I think it made me feel like I have no power when I'm being restricted, or when I'm being like too tight or something. I don't know, but if I'm not initiating the hug or the affection, I feel out of, like, I don't know, I feel like I have no control. Try to stay present in the moment when I'm like hitting a PTSD moment or something. Just try to remember where I'm at, how things smell, how things feel, like who you're with. It just try to bring yourself back, and that has helped me so much, I feel like. And so one of the things that we've been working on is like seeing how long I can handle a hug. And so what I've been doing is I've been just I've been purposely hugging people now, like my family. Um, and and my daughter loves it. So I try to take that joy from her and try to think about that and try to think about how she's feeling versus like thinking about anything else. I just try to stay in the moment, and it has helped so much, you guys. Like I don't, and then oftentimes, you know, because I'll hold her until she feels content, and oftentimes she will you know, she'll just let go of the hug, and I'm like, oh, like I got through it, like I did it. I feel like it's such a big achievement for me, and I didn't push her away, so then I don't feel guilty as a parent for like not loving her the way that she needs to be loved, or like giving her that affection that she needs at that time. So I feel like it was such an achievement for me. Really tell anybody, like in my family, I didn't, or at least I don't remember telling anybody, like, you know, close to me or anything. It was just that person that did it, and then that person that found out and stopped it. So from far as I know, those were the only people that I knew. And then I had to move away from that home. So once I moved away from that home, I moved into a family's house, and with one of my aunts and uncles. And you guys, like, they have um they have a they have a son, which is my cousin. They have a cousin, and he's a guy, right? So I would hang out with him, and I remember we would play, and we would play. He was so respectful, and like he was just a perfect regular guy. And so to me it was like, it was different. Like he didn't play those weird games that I used to play in secret. Like, so, and he never asked me to do anything like that. So it was like, it was it I looked at him sometimes, and I was a little baffled, because I think I almost thought that you know, all men were gonna be like that or something. I don't know, but I knew that if they tried anything, I knew that that was not an okay thing. And so I am, like, to me, their family were like angels because they never tried anything. My uncle treated me like his daughter, like when I lived with him, and you know, he has two other daughters and a son. So um so he treated me like part of their family, and I honestly, I feel like I'll never be able to thank him enough. um but essentially, like, you know, he was wonderful, and there were other men that were really like, everybody else that I met after that person, they were all great. And so I feel like I felt lucky, until there was another person that attempted to molest me. Um, and at that point, I was closer to 9, probably 9 years old, and I was like, I backed away, like right away, like I backed his hand away and everything, and I was like, what are you doing? And he just giggled it off, thought it was funny. But to me, I left, like, I left feeling like, ugh, like feeling dirty, and like feeling like, almost like, was there something that I'm doing? um, and then I kind of just, you know, I moved away, and I moved here, um, and I feel like, you know, my life just started changing. I buried some of the memories and just tried to move on, and like didn't talk to anybody, didn't tell anybody. But during my teens, I was probably 13, and I felt like I was going insane, because I was like, oh my god, like all those things that happened to me, and like, and I was like, and that's when I really realized that the games that we used to play, like, those were not okay, and those were terrible, and I just, I just considered that person my best friend. He was supposed to be my protector. He was supposed to be, you know, because he was older than me. He was supposed to be the one taking care of me. And like growing up, like 13 years old, like or 12, 10 years old, I was really baffled and confused because I'm like, wait, so the person that's supposed to really be close to me, really take care of me, like, did that, and like, and you know, up to that point, I still kind of kept some contact with them, like writing letters and phone calls and things, and I still kept contact up until like probably like 10, 11 years old, but finally 12, 13 hit, and that's when I realized what was happening. Like what they had done was like not at all okay, and I cut all ties with them. But I was left baffled because I was like, they were my best friends. I started going down the rabbit hole of like blaming myself and thinking like, did I do something? What did I do? What could I have done different? Like maybe I could have worn, instead of wearing, because I love wearing tomboy clothes and like basketball shorts, and I was like, you know, if I wore certain clothes that maybe didn't give access to them, like things like that. Like I just thought about all these, I just kept blaming, sorry, I just kept blaming myself. And when those are things that I could never change. I'm gonna go back. One of my uncles posted a photo of, first I was like, who is that little girl? That looks so familiar, down to like the scar that she had, and I'm like, her neck looks, because I had surgery, and I was like, her neck looks a little bit like she had thyroid and just different things. And I just looked at it and I was like, oh my god, that looks like me. So I like asked around who it was, and sure enough they're like, oh yeah, that's you. And I was like, I have the teddy bear. I'm like, that looks like a teddy bear I used to have when I was growing up and things. And around that time of the photo, it's when things were happening, when I was getting molested. But I was looking at her, I was looking, you know, at a person, like, not necessarily looking at a person, but for so many years I hated myself, right? I hated really bad because I was like, I hated her for so long. Looking at how little she was, like how could I have hated her for so long? Like I buried, I don't have any childhood photos of me. I don't. And I don't have any teen photos of me either. Like my mom has hidden, sorry, I have to reel it back. My mom hid a lot of photos, and she never understood why I hated myself, but I would rip them. I would like scratch. I would like scratch over my face. And also, even my husband, he has a yearbook, because we went to elementary school together. He has a yearbook where I signed my name on my face because I hated myself. And looking, when I saw it, that's why I was like, oh, that kind of does look like me. I was like, that's my cousin, who's probably my cousin, like whose daughter is it? Because we kind of look the same, like, and I don't really know, like, I don't really know who I look like from my dad's side, and this family is from my dad's side. And I was like, oh my god. So it was one time when I came to visit, but looking at her and that age, because this is when it was happening, like looking at her, I just want to, like, I even wrote a letter to her in particular because I just want her to know that whatever was happening was not her fault. There's nothing that she could have done, that I could have done differently, that would have created a different outcome, because I didn't know. And it helped me, like, I didn't realize that I needed to see a picture of me during that time to like get that weight lifted off me. And I feel like it got lifted, like, because looking at that image, knowing how young I was, and Like how I had no control, even if I did anything, even if at the end, like, because I mean, I don't remember, because sometimes I think about it, I'm like, did I initiate things, did I do something? Even if I did, they were older, they knew better, I didn't, you know. So I guess I say that to say this. It's like, I feel like it's very healing to be able to do that, and therapy has helped me. And the reason why I reached out to therapy was because I needed to talk about this. And several years, back in 2014 or 15, I contemplated suicide, because, like, I had my daughter, right? And I felt like there's no way. I felt like there was no way that I was going to be able to protect her. And I felt, for so many years, I felt dirty. Like, no matter what anybody said. I mean, I hardly talked to anybody about it, but no matter what, I felt so bad and dirty. And finally I decided to get help, and I talked to my doctor, and I was like, you know what, I need to see a specialist. And they referred me to a OBGYN specialist, and I talked to her, and the first thing she did, which I was like, I'll never forget. And it's funny because I saw her a couple of years later, but I'll never forget. She grabbed me by the shoulders, and then she was like, she shook me. She literally shook me. And she was like, it is not your fault. Don't ever think that it was your fault. She was in. Obviously, I couldn't even talk. I couldn't even talk. And today I really wanted to make it light and not cry, because I feel like I cried so much. When did I found it Thursday or something, wherein I was scrolling through Facebook, and I just happened to see that photo. My uncle had posted something about oh, to be young again, or like youthfulness, and he posted some of his photos when he was younger, and he posted those of me and my cousins. Because I moved, we didn't keep my childhood albums or anything, and I'm kind of glad, because I feel like, or I don't know, I feel like during my teens, because it was in such a dark place, I probably would have like ripped all my photos and ripped all like my childhood pictures and things. And my daughter asks me all the time about like how did I look like when I was a little kid and things like that, and I barely have any. I might have like one or two that family members will like send over and be like, oh look, I found this album over here and this and that. And I only have like when I'm like 2 or 3. I don't have around this age. This age I was around like, I think like 6 or 7, and because I remember that teddy bear, and I remember, you know, certain things. And but I guess at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is, you know, things get better, and find ways where you can heal. And I feel like I always avoided therapy. I mean, I tried back in the day when that doctor like shook me, and she was like, it was not your fault, and she was like, you need to get a therapist. And I reached out to different like therapist clinics, but I was only able to leave a voicemail. And if they called me back, I don't know, because maybe I ignored their calls, I don't know, or I didn't get them. But I never ended up like actually doing treatment until a couple months ago, where I started getting treatment while I was in while my son was in NICU. They have different programs, and they have, through my insurance, they have like different things where I could reach out for different things, and therapy is one of them. And I talked to, because they have different referral programs, so then I talked to the people that needed to guide me where I needed to go, depending on what I needed to talk to about, depending on things. And they're like, we can take it slow and just tell us what. I'm like, no, I need to just rip the band-aid and get this monster out of the way. And so I did tell them about right away what it is that I need to work on. And because I was like, I don't want it to affect how it is, how I raise my kids, and anything. So I I was like, this is what I need. I didn't think I needed to see a childhood photo of me. I really didn't think I needed that, but I did. And I was gonna put it there, but then I was like, no, because no, I don't want to be reminded. So I like I hid it away. But I think this kid, I mean, the face I'm making, come on, like, okay. but just looking at me and myself and the thought process that was behind, you know, that child brain, that innocence, like, I wrote, and you guys can skip through this part, because, but I wrote a note to her, just kind of like, if I were to go back in time and like, if I could talk to her, this is what I wrote. Okay, let me try to put it together so I can read it. Oh, this was the letter, because I also wrote a letter to him, because I needed to get all that out, and I'm not gonna give it to him. You know, I don't ever want to see him, like. But it says, if I could go back in time, I would tell you that I love you, that I am so proud of you. You're already so smart. I won a math competition, so I always like to brag about it, but I was like, you're already so smart. Winning that math competition was very impressive. What happened to you was not okay. It was not your fault. You were just a baby. You were robbed of your innocence. You're loved, beautiful. Your love. You have a big family now. Cousins. Oh, and then I named my daughter after my cousin, because her name is Elizabeth. I named her Ellie for my cousin's name, Elizabeth. But you have Ellie, who has, you know, she's a sister essentially. And then I talk about my uncle, who was a dad almost to me, and his son and his 2 daughters, Elizabeth. But I was like, yeah, even though, and also I grew up without a father, so growing up without a father still kind of I don't feel like it affected me. But I was like, even though, you know, that's happened, there are men in this life that will be respectful to you and things. And then I put, the man that hurt you will never be able to touch you again. You will not see him when you get older. He betrayed you. It caused you so much pain, but you're strong. There will be some difficult times in life, but you will find out how beautiful and amazing life can be. You will become a young, beautiful, I'm like, beautiful, but you will become a beautiful young woman, fall in love, have children, and they are just so precious. You will be proud of the person you become. That little girl lives with me, and I love you, and I thank you for being you. Please forgive me. Please forgive me for all the years that I blamed you. For all the years that I put blame on you. I know it was never your fault. Never. No matter what waves run through your head, it was never your fault. And I feel like I need to remember that when anything happens. But I just felt like, oh my god, I don't know why. When I was also 16, another person close to us asked me, if they could, that I didn't have to do anything, but they asked me for some extra favors, and that they would pay me, like, at the time I think it was like $1,000 or something. I don't know. It was a lot of money, but I felt disgusted when that happened. Like, I remember, like, thinking, like, there's no amount of money that I will allow myself to be put through that ever again. Like, there's no amount of money that would, if it's not wanted for me, then no. So I told them, and they had a daughter around the same age as me, a little bit older. And I told them, and I was like, I'm literally like your daughter. I'm literally this almost the same age as your daughter, and you wanna do this to me? Imagine if someone was doing it to your daughter. And he did not expect that answer. And then he just, I don't know if it was out of fear for me telling other people or what, but he just started crying. And he was like, I am so sorry. He's like, there's something wrong with me and I am so sorry. And he was just like crying and crying, and I was like, just drop me off like you were supposed to do. Like, take me home. Because he gave me a ride. Because we were gonna go get food. Like, my family, my mom had set me to go get food, and he happened to give me a ride. She knew, you know, it was someone, but it was someone we trusted. And so, and I had never told my mom. Like, I didn't tell her up until, like, until my 20s. I finally came clean and I told her everything that happened to me, and I'm sure I hurt her. I hurt her more than she let on, but I didn't, you know. And I just remember him asking for forgiveness, and I was like, I would never tell anybody. I was like, I'm not gonna tell anybody until you're dead. I remember I was like, until you're dead, I'm like, I will let someone know. But yeah, I just remember, like I was like, you know, because they kept asking me, like, you know, I was like, I was like, don't worry, I'll never tell anybody. I was like, promise you that, I'll never tell anybody. but yeah, like, when that happened, I also felt just really dirty, and at that time, you know, I was a teen. I love wearing skirts. I was 17. Yeah, I was 16. No, I was 15, 16. And I remember I had like this photo of me, like, just looking so cute with like a really short skirt and things. And I just, even talking about it, like, I told my husband, you know, I was like, it's probably my fault for all those things I wore. So from then, I was like, I was almost conservative. I would, like, if I knew that I was going around that person, I would like cover up, and I would look really ratchet, really unappealing. But yeah, I remember like telling my husband, I was like, sometimes I just thought it was things I wear. He's like, no, because like I could be wearing whatever, and if their intentions are their intentions, like there's nothing I could do different. And she's like, no. And again, like, with me blaming myself, and I'm like, no, I just wanted to be a teen and have fun, and it shouldn't have mattered, you know. But I'm lucky to be here. I would have not been here if I made the wrong decision. Like I'm just lucky to be here, and anything happens, really. Like, you can step outside and who knows what's gonna happen the next day. So I feel like life in general, it's just so beautiful. Like, every day that we're here, it's just amazing. And I feel like we get tested sometimes quite a lot, like, you know, like, where we don't see the ending. But to me, I'm so glad that I finally like started making that choice of like talking about oh gosh, I'm gonna put like I'm gonna actually, I mean, I tell my girls, like, if you guys see me crying, skip through the video, because they want to watch my videos, and I'm like, not my blog, not my blog channel, my YouTube channel, because I don't want them to see, you know, if they're young, I don't want them to see this and no. But that is one of the reasons why I'm so tough on them, and I'm so like, my daughters know, like, no one should be from 2 years old. I'm like, put your dress on, don't let this and this, and I'm like always on them, and they don't understand. They probably won't understand, and I probably will try to make it make sense to them with their age, but they probably won't understand just because they're so little. And I don't want to tell them, you know, I don't want to tell them, but my daughter knows, like, knows that only doctor's appointments when I'm present she can show anything, like things, you know, like if she needs to take anything off, like I have to be in the room, or her dad has to be in the room, like someone has to be present. And so she, even when the doctor's there, she will look at me, she's like, Mom, is this okay? Like, is this okay if I, like, you know, if she has a belly ache and like she needs to lift her shirt or something, like anything like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, they're gonna check, I'm here, and like I reassure her. So I feel like we are very cautious in that regard. So, and you know, it's funny because I feel like my doctor knows, like my doctor, or maybe that's how they are, but my doctor knows and tells her, like, she's like, yeah, only when dad or mom are present can someone look at you in any area and things like that, and like, or when he's checking, or when taking things, because you know things have to get checked, they usually will ask for permission. And yeah, but you guys, I am healing, and you know, it only took me I feel like it took most of my life to forgive myself. I was gonna say, oh, it only took me like 10 years to forgive myself, but no. Oh my god. Yeah, it took me over 20 years to finally realize that it was not my fault. So I guess it takes time. It takes time. I'm sure, you know, once you guys know what to look for, or what, like for me, what really helped was looking at a picture of my younger self and be like, you know what, just looking at her and realizing, like, like that's all I wanted to do was play. All I wanted to do was fun and go outside and play, you know, soccer and things like that. But before I could play those really fun games, I had to play this weird game, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. And I didn't know better. So yeah, that's my story. And obviously there's a lot more, and I will try to continue to make content, because you know, guys, you guys have no idea, like, for me, blogging, it gets me out of my head, and it just helps me. It helps me mentally, like, with everything that I'm dealing, like it keeps my thoughts away from me. But now that I feel like I'm healing, I mean, I'm not saying I'm not gonna blog as much, but I feel like this has been a super good outlet for me. And I feel like with my children, I try to be the best mom I can be for them. And I stay with them. I've been lucky to be able to work where I don't have to put them in daycare. And so I stay with them during the day. It is tough because I work nights sometimes, and it's hard. But I feel like I am very lucky that they don't have to stay with anybody, because I don't want anything to happen to them, and I want to protect them. And I thank you guys, and I hope you guys have a good day, and I send positive vibes, healing vibes, and know that, and that's why I blog about my life, because I'm like, if I'm going through a rough day, I'm hoping that in a couple years you guys will see me going through a better day. I hope. And you know, there's rough times, but I also try to show the beauty of what is life, you know, and I have found a lot of help through art, and healing through art. So that's why I create art, and that's why I post art videos, and that's why I put it as mental health and also food. and it's funny because my therapist was saying things that I already was doing, because she was like, you know, she's like, it sounds like you like to cook, so when you're cooking, like, try to smell things, try to be present in the moment, try to taste things, try to even, he's like, it might sound like a childish, but even try to feel, how things sound when you're cutting. Just try to be present in the moment. And when I'm cooking, like, I made a video where I was like, this is I need to remember, like, not to have a bitch resting face, but when I was cooking, I'm just like in my zone. I like zone everything out. I mean, I still make sure the kids are okay and things like that, but I like am a zone and I have fun. And when I'm painting, I'm doing the same. And I was showing her a photo of a painting I did, and she's like, that's Tears of Pain. And I didn't see it that way, but when I was painting it, I was telling her, I'm like, it just came over me and I just wanted to paint it, and I was like, this is kind of dark. Like, it's one of my, I try not to show my dark paintings, but I was like, but this swan, who is like this beautiful person, this beautiful swan, is crying tears. And then she's like, yeah, tears of pain. Like, nobody notices like the pain that they're suffering through. But this was the swan painting, you guys might have seen it, and the tears are just there, and like it has a puddle. And I told her, I was like, initially I just wanted to paint this like just beautiful delicate swan, but I ended up with this, and I love it because I was like, I just kind of got in my zone and got carried away, and just like I feel like it's, yeah, tears of pain and suffering, and like when you look at it, you wouldn't really see, you know, you would just see like, oh, this swan or this person, but underneath everybody and everything, like, we all have, I guess, our story to tell it. And to me, I really like this swan painting. So yeah, I'm like trying to heal through there in that aspect. And oh, and this one too, you guys, I need to show you guys now that I'm here. I did it in another notebook because I have so many notebooks here. I did it in this notebook where she's in a cleft, right? I think I don't think I've seen it in here, but like, just she's in a cleft and just feeling the wind. You know, to me, I imagine it like, you know, when you're standing on the edge, like contemplating how life is sometimes, and just you're just in the edge of things, but then you realize like you're so small compared to everything else, and just letting that breeze and letting everything just heal you. Like, this is what this painting reminded me of. Like, you're sitting in a cliff and you don't know, like, you're just on the edge, you don't know what's gonna happen, like, but yeah, she's just a strong, to me, she's just a strong woman standing there, feeling the breeze, enjoying life, feeling love, feeling the joy of life. But yeah, I'll stop here because otherwise I'll make it like, I don't know, 2-3 hours.